What's up, y'all? Jill and Nate here.
Morning.
Welcome back to the farm. I am finally back home. Praise the Lord, man.
Praise the Lord. We missed you.
Oh, I miss y'all too. Man, I'm just so glad to be back home though. Like my whole week was so thrown off. So thrown off.
Mine too.
But I did come back home with a greenhouse in tow, which is super exciting. So we've got the guy coming this week to do dirt work.
Yep. Weather permitting.
It's actually a beautiful day. So we actually had to change some things unexpectedly when Nathan was, what was it, digging the trench or what? How did you find that out?
Yeah, we were getting ready to trench for water lines and electricity, and then we realized that the septic tank field lines were going to run right underneath the high tunnel, and that's a big no-no. So, you know, we didn't want lettuce and tomatoes to be fed by poopy water. So.
Yeah, so gross. So Nathan actually tells me this when I'm gone, and it ended up working out because now we're going to put it right beside our prop house, so the seed starting tunnel. And because of that, we got an additional 8 feet because we want to be able to set up a space at the front to set up our cameras, to shoot content. That was something that Bootstrap really wanted us to be able to do as well. And so we got an additional 8 feet just for content creation, and that still gives us the full 60 feet to plant in. So technically we're going to be putting up a 20 by 68, but production wise it'll be a 20 by 60. Yeah. So I've got to start a boatload of seeds today. I'm going to let you guys come hang out with me, but while we're out there I figured we'll just share with you the new plan, having to switch gears already.
Already, yeah.
If that's not farming, I don't know what is. It's having to go with the flow, constantly switching things. At this point I feel like the stuff used to really like get me worked up, and now I'm just like, whatever.
Figures something changes.
Something always happens. You actually like the new location way better though.
I do. I personally like it better,
yeah.
Just for aesthetics. I am going to have to move a gate to be able to get hogs in and out, but that won't be a problem.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, let's head outside. I have all my seeds stored in various different freezers. So this is my spinach seed, and they're kind of old seed anyways. I'll show you how I'm storing the rest of them. This really isn't like stored the best way, but I do always keep my spinach and lettuce and onion seeds in the freezer. And when you do that, going from like super cold and then putting it in moist soil, especially if you pop it on a heat mat, man, germination is literally, it cuts germination time by about half, which is huge, especially when you're wanting to like be on some intense succession planting. So I'm gonna go grab the rest of mine, and we'll head down to the greenhouse. I'm not sure if you guys remember this little tulip experiment that I did here in crates in my greenhouse, but look at them. They are coming up so lush, so beautiful. So that's exciting. It's been really cold, surprisingly. We've had like weird dips, and they just did so fantastic. So this was a cool little experiment that I'm pretty happy about. Alright, so before I get started on seeds, you want to walk to where the new tunnel is going to be? Show them real quick.
Sure.
Alright. Ooh, it's a lot colder out here. So granted, it's like, you know, middle of the day when we're showing you, but here's our current greenhouse with the raised beds. This is the prop house, and then this is where we're gonna add.
Yeah, so we're coming just right off of this pad that was built. They're gonna pull back all this dirt, try to fill in, because it's obviously lower there.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna come off this pad to this little marker here.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, and then it's gonna go straight back, and as you see, I'm gonna have to take out all of that and move the gate.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to block my access to getting the hogs in and out. But it's going to go to within 3 foot of the fence.
Wow.
It's going to go all the way back.
So just like on the back of the seed starting greenhouse, we don't have a back door, we have a vent. It'll be very similar with the new greenhouse. We'll have a vent, we'll have a fan at the front, but there won't be an exit point. Now we could eventually cut out and put one in, but we didn't really need it to begin with, and now that we've moved locations and it's going to be so close to where the pigs are, it's definitely not going to make sense. So I'm kind of glad that we ended up not doing that. So it'll be pretty similar to the same setup as this. It is the Gothic, so it kind of goes at a peak, which just allows for way more air mass, which was really fun when I was able to kind of walk through one back in Texas. You don't realize just how much bigger those Gothic tunnels are, but they really are. Alright, so what we are starting today is I'm starting some more scarlet kale. I have the Salanova Foundation collection from Johnny's Seeds. I was buying these individually and mixing them, and then I realized that they had these collections you could buy, and it's a lot cheaper to do it that way, because I'm able to buy this box and it's 1,000 seeds. And then I bought the Premier collection, and so every single week I'm going to be starting 80 lettuce seeds. I'm going to be starting every week, transplanting out every week. So I've already got my first 80 in the house, and so I need to just start my second 80. And then I do just those, that standard smooth leaf spinach I showed you I had in the freezer. And then I have a couple different eggplants. Some of these were just kind of specialty ones that I wanted for our raised bed garden. And then some of these I'm growing for the plant sale. So we've got like the habanera, the red ember. We've got the King Arthur Bell, shishitos. And then some fun little, look at that little Thai lavender frog egg. I'm going to try to grow that in a container and see how it does. So we're pretty much just going to be in seed starting mode from here on out. And then Friday I'll start more seeds as well. I'm going to start all my tomatoes because I was going to try to get that in today, but we've got shallots and leeks that need to go in the ground. And I really just don't have enough time because we're starting literally a ton of tomato seeds, so I knew better than to try to overload myself today. So Nathan's filling up some trays trying to help me out, and I'm just trying to get all my stuff together. Alright, so I'm about to make up my foundation collection. Now I bought this in, so I bought 1,000. It comes in this box, but it's 250 of each of these 4 varieties, and that is the Salanova Green Crisp, it's the Salanova Red Crisp, and then you've got the red incised and the green incised. And essentially we're just mixing these all together to make some sort of mix. If you're wanting to do like a salad mix, this is great. Also, if you're wanting to sell, this is going to be a heavier weight, so it makes a lot of sense to go with this. And although I did mention this isn't my favorite seeder, when you're dealing with pelleted seeds, especially because I have these in a 72 cell tray, this is going to be my best bet, just to put it in there and mix it all together. And I want to talk to you guys about pelleted seeds. I'm going to show you what they are. Most of my lettuce, my carrots, things like that, I prefer to buy a pelleted seed because it is way easier to work with. So let's see if I can show you here. It's going to be so hard. But it's this little seed here that has a coating on the outside. Maybe you guys can see that here. You see that? So you can tell, compared to a normal lettuce seed, this is going to be way easier to seed, specifically with carrots as well. Even if you're using some sort of like Jang seeder, you couldn't actually fit those small little seeds. You'd have to have some sort of pelleted seed for that. Alright, so all that a pelleted seed is, it's just got that coating on it. You'll see a lot of commercial growers using a pelleted seed because you can put it in those walk behind seeders. Also though, I have found, and there's even studies that show a pelleted seed is going to germinate much faster, and when we are trying to crank out lettuce production, you can see how that would be super, super important. So as I mentioned, we're keeping all of our seeds in the freezer, but there are a few downsides to pelleted seeds. They're not going to last as long because they do have that coating on there. And so I think that they say that the shelf life on a pelleted seed is about a year. So not as great as just your standard non-primed you know, lettuce, but for me, we're using all of these up so quickly that they're not ever lasting me a year. So I'm just going through making my little mix here, my cedar, mixing these together. This is no real science. I'm just eyeballing it. Alright, I'm going to pop this back on there. Give it a good shake. Now, I'm only seeding one of these per cell. And then I am going to do, like I said, that foundation mix and the Premier. So the Premier is more of a traditional head. These are going to be like those frilly little pieces, which is nice. I actually really do enjoy those. But for some people, they just want standard lettuce. So I am planning on doing both of these collections and then kind of mixing them together and really just kind of figuring out our audience and what they like. So let's seed them. So if you are wanting to grow lettuce, whether that's just maybe for your family, say, you know, for me, I am eating spinach at least 2, most of the time 3 times a day. For me to buy organic spinach, I will go broke. And so I know that I really want to grow spinach efficiently. That way I can cut down on that cost. Maybe lettuce is one of those things that you're eating a ton of. Here are just some of my tips to just really being efficient with that. One, buy good seeds. The Salvanova mixes from Johnny's are exceptional. One, buy the pelleted seeds because they are going to make germination and seeding so much faster, especially if you're doing these in soil blocks, which I have some in soil blocks. I'm also testing out these air pruning trays, and so I was just trying to do a mix so I could figure out which one I preferred better. But if you are doing the soil blocks and you have that hand seeder, then you can really speed up this process. And then another tip is just make sure that you're putting them, you know, in the freezer. You don't want to just take your seed packet and stick in the freezer because it's going to kind of, you know, you want to be able to kind of control the humidity, if you will. And so I like to buy a plastic tote, keep all of my seeds in totes. And then it just, you know, it makes it easier. You're not dealing with soggy packages and all this other stuff. And so that's kind of what I prefer to do. But it's super easy. Figure out how much that you're eating. And then, you know, for me, I'm growing this to sell. And so 80 may seem like a lot to you. But maybe you're just starting, you know, 5 or 10 plants every week. And that's just to make sure that you've got plenty of spinach or lettuce all throughout the summer. There are also heat tolerant varieties. You know, right now I'm growing some that are pretty heat tolerant because I know I'm going to be growing them in a greenhouse. But then we'll even switch, and in the dead of the summer, we're growing different varieties. If you go to the Johnny's website, they have a lot of really good information on which ones are good for certain times of year. And that's going to be super dependent. But my goal is to try and, you know, grow lettuce year round here. And really, I'm going to do that just by figuring out those good varieties. So if you don't have a seeder, you could get some sort of Tupperware, put it in there, shake it up, some sort of cup. I've just got this in the palm of my hand here. Now, when it comes to seeding lettuce, much like anything else that you're seeding, you just want to create a small little divot in the soil. That's where you're going to actually place your seed at. So I'm going to zoom you guys in really close so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so you could use something called a Dibbler, which is very similar to this. I mean, this is pretty cheap. You can get them pretty fancy. And essentially, you just take the tip here, and you're just going to move it down and create a little rotation. It even has like depths on the side of it. I'll be honest, I've been doing this for so long, I just kind of eyeball at this point. You could go through with a Dibbler, make your little indentation. For me, usually what I do is I just take my finger and create a little hole. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. You've created a place for your seed to go. You could also use the end of a pencil or a pen. You can get super creative here on what you use. And then you'll just go through with either your seeder or by hand. And you're just going to drop these seeds in here one by one. Now, if you are buying new seed, you're only going to need to seed one. For my spinach, I seeded several because the seed was super old and I didn't have them in the freezer for very long. So you're just going to have to evaluate how long have you had the seeds, what's the germination like. We already talked about if you're buying a pelleted seed, they're going to germinate faster. And so I know I don't really need to waste seed, and these are expensive organic seeds. So I like to just do one because I've done all the things to really set myself up for success here. And then from there, all you do is just take that soil and pinch it back over. Give you a good idea. You can see my seed right here, lightly covering it up. That one missed the hole, so we'll just move it over some. Another thing I would say is pretty important, it doesn't matter if you're starting lettuce seed, tomato seed, any sort of seed, is you want to make sure that your soil is good and moist, especially if you're using soil blocks. They're actually like borderline saturated. But even if you're doing some sort of tray like I am here, what we do is we just wet down our soil really well. You want to be able to like squeeze it and some water come out, but it still retain its structure. And so that's kind of a good idea, but you definitely don't want your seeds going into dry soil. And then what we'll do is we'll just bottom water them from here. Now I am going to take my lettuce seed, I am going to bring them back inside, put them under a heat mat, but something that I have done, and I would really only recommend this if you are really doing this for production. If you're doing this for your home garden, I'm not sure that it makes that much sense, but to speed up that germination process, I have my seeds first in the freezer, like I mentioned. I'll pull them out. I'll actually stick it back in the fridge for a couple days, really get the soil and everything super cold, pull it out, stick it on a heat mat, and when it goes from that cold stratification to really warm soil, that warm heat mat, you germinate super, super quickly. Now, obviously, this isn't necessary to my success, but if I'm wanting to get lettuce out really quickly, it is a little trick that I can do that speeds up everything. I've got quite a bit here, so I'm not sure that I'm going to do that with these, but with the soil blocks, I can, get a ton in just one tray, and that makes a lot of sense. And so I'm trying a whole lot of options at this time just to really figure out what's going to work best. How much faster did that speed germination up versus putting it in the fridge for 3 days and then not. So I'll kind of keep you guys posted on what all that looks like for us. got them seeded. Now Nathan and I will just move them in the house. This is mainly just for me. I haven't, on Friday, I'll seed everything that we're selling. Meanwhile, Nathan's working like a madman, organizing. All right, you guys, I am wrapped up with seeding lettuce for the day. This is just really the first day of seeding. I got to seed again on Friday. All the things for the plant sale. That'll probably be a more in-depth how-to. I really just wanted to hang out with you guys, show you what I was up to. Nathan's going to finish organizing, and we are trying to figure out a game plan for our pack and wash shed. So stay tuned for that. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon.